So I think we have time for one more brief question.
Yes. Hi, thank you, Professor Chomsky. Interesting to listen to. A brief question. I mean, we're in a very kind of negative spiral, and it's easy just to see all the complications and problems. But you mentioned one possible way out, and that would be negotiations with Putin. Which actors do you see today in the political landscape that actually could contribute to something like that?
Two countries, China and the United States. These are the superpowers. If they become involved, they could facilitate negotiations. China refuses. Leaders are apparently pretty happy with the way things are going. The United States not only refuses, but is acting openly and publicly to prevent negotiations. That's what it means when the State Department says we will not discuss any Russian security concerns. That means no negotiations. Russia's not going to enter into negotiations if the US says we're not going to accept them. That's elementary, okay? But they could move. Now, the framework for negotiations is well understood. It's in fact been repeated by President Zelensky a number of times, including again in last March at the basic idea is neutralization of Ukraine, meaning Ukraine will have a status like Austria, Sweden, Mexico, neutral, sovereign, tied to the West, but no heavy weapons aiming at the adversary, okay? No military alliances. None of what Stoltenberg has been saying has been going on for since 2014. None of that. Real neutrality. That's one part. Second is the question of Donbass. Well, before the invasion, there was a real possibility that it could be implemented basically within the Minsk II Accords, a high degree of autonomy within a federal Ukraine, something like Switzerland, Belgium, not unknown. Well, the prospects are narrower after the invasion, but still not impossible. Some form of statesmanship could work out an arrangement. That leaves Crimea. Zelensky quite properly said we'll have to put the issue of Crimea off for later discussions. First settle this, 15 or 20 years later, maybe we can deal with Crimea. It's a very sensible position. The US blocked it flatly, won't even report it, literally. It's not the first time. We'll go back a little. Zelensky was elected with an overwhelming mandate, about 70%, on a peace program, on a program to bring peace to Ukraine and Donbass. And he tried to implement it. In fact, he went to Donbass to see if they could work something out in 2019. He was confronted by violent nationalist right-wing militias, which bitterly condemned him and threatened him with death if he proceeded with this. If he had had the support of the United States, he could have proceeded. A courageous man. With US backing, he could have proceeded. Nothing. US would not back him because it didn't want a negotiated settlement. It wants to integrate Ukraine within NATO to the last Ukrainian. Okay? Now, after the invasion, prospects have narrowed, but it's still possible. In fact, in March of this year, a couple of weeks after the invasion, Ukraine, meaning Zelensky, did actually put forward a fairly reasonable proposal. I doubt if it was even reported in Europe. It wasn't reported in the United States. It wasn't backed by the United States. Well, If that's the European-US position, there's no hope for negotiations. It's much easier for intellectuals to make speeches about how the twisted mind of Putin, caught up in nationalist fantasies, is so crazy we can't negotiate with him. That's easy. That gets you praise and plaudits. And of course, the only way to find out whether it's possible to negotiate is to try. So therefore, you have to be careful not to allow that possibility to be opened. That's what we're witnessing.
Thanks.
So thank you all for being here today. Thank you, Noam, on behalf of all of us here present in the room for joining us today. Thank you for your time, and we hope to see you hopefully next time on a similar or related topic.
Okay, a more pleasant one, I hope.
Thank you, and have a great day.